I don't know the last time we've had so much excitement crammed into 1 week of postseason action involving our local teams. Even more than just excitement, it's been a week of teams exceeding expectations. That includes the game many of you likely heard last night on our sister station, the Team 1450 AM KNOT. The Prescott boys basketball team was up in Flagstaff, taking on Flagstaff High School in the state play-in game. A game that was supposed to take place on Wednesday, but because of the winter storm, it got postponed to Friday. But, well, I mean, we still had a winter storm come through on Friday, but, it wasn't too bad. I mean, heck, by the time we rolled into Coconino yesterday, roads were pretty much clear and dry, so no problem there. And then we got to bear witness to a pretty tight game through the first three quarters. Then in the fourth, Prescott went up by 10, and it looked like they might just run away with it. But to steal a quote from one of my favorite YouTubers, Max Afterburner, the enemy always gets a vote. Flagstaff roared back and tied the game, sending it into overtime. The Badgers really picked up the rebounding then and made some critical free throws, and they got the deke over the Eagles 68-60. So Prescott will play in the 4A Conference State Tournament, which starts next Wednesday, and we will be carrying that game along with, of course, the Prescott girls basketball team and their run through the state tournament. But give it up to the Prescott boys basketball team after losing Uriah Tenet and Zane Gall to graduation last year, two of the best to ever come through that program. A lot of people probably thought, this is going to be a down year, a rebuilding year. How do you replace the ridiculous stats those two guys put up during their storied careers? But I'm going to throw another quote in here. To quote Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park, life finds a way. Or, well, rather, the Badgers found a way, mainly through a total team effort, and now they're in the big dance. Another local team that exceeded expectations has to be the Bradshaw Mountain girls basketball team. They had a strong start to the season, then went through quite a few ups and downs during the second half, and that included blowout losses to Flagstaff and Prescott and a loss to Lee Williams on senior night. And I was there for that one, and that was kind of a depressing atmosphere for the players. It's like that's last game on your home floor and you lose it. So, quite a few sad faces that night there. So, a lot of people probably didn't expect much from the Lady Bears. They probably didn't expect them to get out of the state play-in round. Bradshaw goes in as the number 20 seed. They had to drive all the way down to Tucson to face number 13 Saguaro. And what happened? Bradshaw fought the Lady Cougars tooth and nail the whole darn way. Then, with under 3 seconds left in regulation, Courtney Bennett grabbed the rebound, put it home, and Bradshaw got the 43-42 win. Oh, by the way, Courtney Bennett, she's a freshman. She's a freshman. Boy, how many freshmen get to play hero of the day during a postseason game? Anyway, Lady Bears are now one of the last 16 teams still standing. They go into the 4A Conference Tournament as the number 15 seed, and they will face, can you believe it, number 2 seed Prescott in the opening round of state next Thursday. So we get ourselves a bonus rivalry game this year, and we'll have that game for you on the Team 1450 AM KNOT. And the thrills don't stop there. Thursday night, the Prescott boys soccer team was up in Flagstaff to face Coconino in the opening round of the 4A Conference State Tournament, and I guess they managed to get that game in before all the snow came up there to Flagstaff. But they had a tight battle with Coconino, and they pulled it out 1-0 on a goal by Angel Sanchez. And this is a Badger team who, they were okay during the first half of the season. Then they went undefeated in Grand Canyon Region play, and they are now in the Elite Eight of state, which takes place today. And the Badgers are going to be down at number 1 seed ALA Gilbert North. Yeah, it's going to be a number 9 seed versus a number 1 seed. But as we're seeing, anything can happen. I mean, heck, on Wednesday in the first round, we had number 13 seed Dysart upset number 4 seed Greenway 1-0. So who knows? A few more upsets could be on the menu before all is said and done. And if that wasn't enough, the Prescott girls soccer team got to play their favorite role again, which is that of the scrappy underdog. After knocking off 2 top 10 teams during region play, they went down to Cave Creek Tuesday to face Cactus Shadows in the opening round of state, with the Lady Badgers the number 11 seed and the Lady Falcons the number 6 seed. And what happened? Prescott beat them 2-1 in overtime, as the late, great Buffalo Sabres broadcaster Rick Genere would say. We had goals by Jade Furr in regulation and Belle Mazzone in overtime. So Prescott is guess where today? Flagstaff. Man, that's like 3 state games for Prescott teams on 3 straight days in Flagstaff. What are the odds of that? Anyway, Prescott is in Flagstaff today. They will be taking on Coconino, who are the number 3 seed. Not that Prescott really cares what seed Coconino is, because this is the same Coconino team that Prescott beat in the regular season 1-0, when I think Prescott at the time, they were ranked number 17 in the power points, and Coconino was like number 2 in power points. So, oh, and by the way, again, this wasn't the only upset that happened in the first round of girls state soccer. On Tuesday, number 12 Douglas knocked off number 5 Paradise Honors 1-0. So what's the common denominator here? All those local teams, and a couple of the non-local teams I mentioned there who scored upsets in their games, they went into their postseason games as the lower seed. All of them had to play on the road, and all of them won. Sometimes rankings don't mean a darn thing. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting hot at the right time, like the Prescott girls soccer team, who, they kind of stumbled through the first half of the season. Then, second half of the season, they flipped the script, started racking up all sorts of wins. Also, a lot of times at those lower seeds, they don't have the same kind of pressure or expectations that the higher seeds have. So they'll go into the postseason with a mentality of, nobody expected us to be here. Nobody expects us to do much. So let's just go out on the court or the field, whatever the case may be, and, let's play our game and just see what happens. And that's the beauty of sports. Sometimes one-loss record, rankings, seedings, analytics, they don't mean jack squat. Both teams still have to go out there. They still have to perform, and anything can happen. By the way, looking at other postseason action, the state wrestling championships wrap up today at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum down in Phoenix. And according to Track Wrestling, the really big high school collegiate wrestling website, if you're a wrestling fan, you probably already know about Track Wrestling, so I don't need to tell you to go check it out. But according to Track Wrestling, Bradshaw Mountain's Riley Nollett has a shot at a state championship at 108 pounds. Also, Prescott's Gianna May is vying for a state championship on the girls' side. So best of luck to those two. Meanwhile, up in Salem, Oregon, it's the final day of the Cascade Collegiate Conference Wrestling Tournament, and Embry-Riddle's Landon Smith, Jaden Luttrell, Daniil Gorshkov, Trenton Bloomquist, and two-time All-American Kenny Copley, they all have a chance at making their championship matches in their weight classes. So best of luck to all those Eagles up there in Oregon. And a big game with postseason implications right here in Prescott today. The Embry-Riddle men's basketball team has its regular season finale versus Benedictine Mesa, and that game will determine which one of those two teams gets the fourth and final spot in the GSAC Championship Tournament. Tip-off for that game is 3 p.m. over at the Riddle Activity Center. All right, folks, 928-541-1016, the number to call here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. Break time here on the Roundup. We come back. We're actually going to be talking baseball because if you can believe it, next week, the Prescott baseball team begins their season. So we're going to talk to their head coach, Hutch Hutchins. He'll be on the other side of the break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Tri-City Sports Roundup. John Rust with you here. And, of course, we started off the show talking about all the great postseason action going on involving our local teams. But let's skip the talk of postseason for a while and let's talk about, well, opening season because, hard to believe. We're just so entrenched right now in postseason for basketball and soccer and wrestling right now that we got to remind ourselves that, spring sports is about ready to start and start sooner than I think any of us expected. In fact, Prescott baseball, they have their season opener next week, and actually they're down in the Valley this morning for a scrimmage. So we're going to go to the phones right now, and we are going to talk to the head coach of the Prescott baseball team. That is Hutch Hutchins. Coach, good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
And, Coach, like I said, so I believe you're down at Sunny Slope today for a scrimmage?
Yeah, that's correct. We're going to scrimmage them at 10 o'clock this morning.
Okay. Well, one thing I got to ask is, for a scrimmage like this, and again, you got a week to go before the season opener. So what are some of the main things you're hoping to accomplish with this scrimmage today to get your guys fully ready for the season opener?
Well, we just we had tryouts a week ago. Obviously, the weather wasn't too cooperative this last week, so we need to take a good look at everybody and see if we can figure out who's going to be the best 9 guys to start us off the season and who's going to be able to fill those roles that we need off the bench.
Okay. And then I believe it's, I think it's called the Adam Dunnenfield tournament. That's where you're going to be kicking off the season next week?
Yeah, that's correct. Rofi hosts it every year. It's a huge tournament. Teams from all levels. It should be good competition.
Yeah, and talk about how important it is to, like, not even waste any time, just right off the bat, throw your guys into some of the stiffest competition they might be facing all year.
Yeah, I think it's important to start with good competition. These games don't count towards our record, so we might as well go out and play the best teams we can play and see where we're at, see where the pitching's at, see where the hitting's at, try to identify some areas of weakness that we need to work on, and get ready to start when the regular season games start.
Yeah. And, of course, well, Coach, going back to last year, it was your first year at the helm of Prescott. Badgers had a really terrific season. Unfortunately, ended much sooner than you would have liked. Unfortunately, that upset loss in state to Flagstaff. And, you lost quite a few good players. But what about for this year? Who are some of the guys you have coming back who you really expect to carry the Badgers on the diamond this year?
The seniors that we're returning from last year are pretty outstanding. I think Travis Gates is probably gonna take that ace starter role for us on the mound. He sure was good for us last year as a junior, and he's gotten better this year. He's gonna be tough to beat. We have Matt Hepperly coming back, big lefty. He's looking really, really good. Looked really good all fall and summer, and he's come a long way. William Horn, who's our other lefty senior, he pitched for us last year. He'll pitch for us again this year and be effective. And of course, we have our last year's sophomore, this year's junior, Nick Martin, who ended the season last year hitting about 475. So we have a good solid core of 4 or 5 guys coming back from last year that are going to help us, and then we have a whole bunch of talented younger guys coming up from JV that we'll just have to figure out where they fit.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, after the loss at state last year to Flagstaff, that upset loss, do you feel that that's made the guys coming back for this year even hungrier, maybe left a bad taste in their mouth saying, hey, we don't want to go through that again this year. We've got a lot more to prove this year, and we're ready to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, Flagstaff's a great program. Coach Macias up there does a really great job. They're really solid. So, it's disappointing the way we ended last year, but not too surprising. They're a quality program. So, yeah, the guys are a little motivated, and we've kind of, I think we notice, we hear, we know that we're being counted out a little bit because we have so many seniors leave the program and move on. Mm-hmm. So I think we're kind of, our mentality this year is to kind of prove people wrong. But these younger guys want to prove that they do belong and that they're going to compete just as hard as we did last year.
All right. Well, Coach, you mentioned the returners you got coming back this year, and you've been through tryouts the last couple weeks. I think had a scrimmage or two there, and of course, there was all the stuff that you guys are doing in the fall. So, looking at that, have you seen maybe 1 or 2 guys who are coming up through the lower ranks, who you kind of have an eye on, saying that these guys are probably going to be ready to jump into varsity and help us right off the bat?
Yeah, there's a few guys. I think Caden Lampy's going to take the mound for us as a junior this year, and we were real close to keeping him last year, but we thought it was more important to put him down and let him play every day. But he's going to pitch, and he's got really good stuff, and he'll probably take a roll out in the outfield when he's not pitching, and he'll hit. And so I think he's going to surprise some people. I'm sure a lot of people have heard Brody Hanna's name. He's just an outstanding athlete. Kind of at the end of the season, we brought him up last year. I think he saved the game against ALA Gilbert for us by robbing a home run. He's probably going to take that everyday spot out in center field and kind of command the outfield. And so I think those two guys are going to make a huge impact right off the bat.
And like I said, you got about a week to go before opening day. You're still going through practices and scrimmages. But do you feel like the starting lineup is pretty much set, or you got a little bit more work to do on it?
We have a little bit of work to do. We have some spots in our lineup where there's several guys that could emerge as the everyday starter, and I think over the course of today's scrimmage and next weekend's preseason tournament, we'll get to see some live action and iron out some of those spots that are still in question.
Yeah. And speaking of that Adam Dunn Field tournament coming up next week, how many games you got down there, and who are you going to be playing?
We have 4 games. We start off with the new ALA Mesa School. I think we have Yuma, Arcadia, and gosh, I can't remember who the fourth team was.
Yeah. So let me get this straight. Like, we already have about 200 ALA schools already in the state, and now we're getting another new one?
Oh, yeah. This one's new, and I've heard they're building another one out east there south of Apache Junction. So,
boy.
They're
ALA,
blowing up.
Yeah, ALA is just spreading all over. I wouldn't be surprised if one day we get, like, ALA Prescott Valley up here or something, the way things are going.
Oh, God, don't say that.
Okay. Oh, all right, Coach, since you asked, I will retract that last statement. How about that?
I appreciate that. I don't want to lose any of my voice.
No problem. All right, well, we talked about the Adam Dunn Field tournament. What about Prescott's first home game? When can all of us get out to the Badger baseball field to see you guys on your home turf? When's your home opener?
Oh, my gosh. Honestly, I'd have to look at the schedule. I know that we start down at Crisman, and I think we go to Deer Valley. I can't think of when that first one is.
I think it maybe March, if I remember right. I think it might be March 6th or something.
It could be.
Yeah. But anyway, you'll be up here soon, and we'll get to see you a bunch of times. So we'll be looking forward to that, Coach.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
All right.
And I appreciate the support of all the people in Prescott. Last year was outstanding, and I'm looking forward to another great season this year.
All right. Well, again, Coach Hutchins from the Prescott baseball team, want to thank you for joining us here on Tri-City Sports Roundup this morning. Best of luck to you and the Badgers down there at your scrimmage today at Sunny Slope. And, of course, best of luck to you guys next week at the Adam Dunn Field tournament.
Thank you very much, John. I appreciate it.
You got it. Have a good day. Hey, thanks for calling us from the road, Coach. We really appreciate that, too.
You bet. Have a good day.
You too. Again, Coach Hutchins, head coach of the Prescott baseball team. So bottom of the hour here, we're going to take a break on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. And when we come back, remember I talked about that big Embry-Riddle Benedictine Mesa men's basketball game going on today, 3 o'clock over at the Riddle Activity Center. We're going to be talking to Embry-Riddle coach Ben Tucker on the other side of this break. But before we go to break, it's time to see who shined over the past 7 days as we present the Tri-City Sports Roundup 3 Stars of the Week. Starting with the ladies, our number 3 star is Giselle Serrano of the Yavapai College basketball team. She posted 16 points in the Lady Riders' 76-54 loss to Southern Nevada Wednesday. The number 2 star is Addie Prisciandero of the Prescott basketball team. She put up 20 points in the Lady Badgers' 64-33 loss to Valley Vista on Tuesday. And our number 1 star of the week is Courtney Bennett of the Bradshaw Mountain basketball team. She scored the game-winning basket with under 3 seconds left in regulation in the Lady Bears' 43-42 win over Saguaro in the state play-in round Thursday. Now for the guys, our number 3 star is Rudolph Svittens of the Yavapai College basketball team. He amassed 28 points in the Rough Riders' 86-66 loss to Southern Nevada Wednesday. The number 2 star is Dalton Irwin of the Yavapai College baseball team. He homered and drove in 5 runs in the Rough Riders' 14-1 rout of Douglas College Tuesday. And our number 1 star of the week, actually, I guess you could say it's a tie for number 1 this week. It's Jonah Gann and Riley Nolet of the Prescott and Bradshaw Mounted Wrestling teams, respectively. They were champions in their weight classes at last Saturday's sectional tournaments. Congratulations to all our 3 stars of the week. Break time here on the Roundup. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Tri-City Sports Roundup. John Rust with you here. And again, starting off the top of the show, talking about all the postseason action going on. Well, today here in Prescott, we have a game. It's not a postseason game, but I think it's about as close to a postseason atmosphere as you're going to get. Embry-Riddle and Benedictine Mesa squaring off on the hardwood today at 3 p.m., and the winner of that game will lock up the 4th and final spot for the GSAC tournament. And on the line with us right now, we have the head coach of Embry-Riddle men's basketball. That is Ben Tucker. Hey, Coach, good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, John. And that's a great intro. You're spot on. It's playoff basketball 1 week before the playoffs start.
Yeah, so kind of tell us about the setup, because if I remember right, I believe first time around you guys did beat Benedictine Mesa, right?
So we lost to them the first time by a basket in a wild game, and literally came down to a final shot. So at their place. So yeah, basically we're playing. If we win, we'll finish in a tie with them, and then there's a bunch of tiebreaker scenarios depending on what everyone around the league does. So it's long and complicated, and there's a bunch of different scenarios. But we've got to win to have a chance. So for us, it's basically win or be done.
Okay, so give us a setup on anyone who goes out to the Riddle Activity Center today. Since you played Ben Mesa the first time around, lost to him, like you said, just 1 point. What kind of team can we expect to see out of Benedictine Mesa for round 2?
Yeah, they're really talented. They have great size, which is a little unique at our level. They've got a couple really good bigs that defend really well. They're the best defensive team, points per game, field goal percentage. So they're a really tough, athletic team, hard to score against, but they play really fast. And They've got some talented guards as well. So they're kind of a high-flying, very athletic team. So it's going to be exciting, and it's two teams I think that match up really well. So we expect a very competitive game. It's going to be physical and scrappy and hard-fought. Both teams are kind of fighting for their playoff lives. So, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be up and down basketball with some really good athletes on both sides and a lot of talent from both teams.
So after the first meeting between you guys, what do you feel are going to be some of the differences that Embry-Riddle is going to have to do in this game in order to pull out the win? And hopefully all the tiebreakers fall in your place and go on to the postseason.
Yeah, for us, offensively taking care of the ball, making sure, we're getting quality shots. We led for about 30 of the 40 minutes, kind of had the game in hand, and they did a great job. They fought back and got us to turn the ball over and make some mistakes in the last 5 minutes and came back and kind of took one from us. So for us, it's taking care of the ball, making sure we get great shots, and then for us, always, we have to make sure we win, the rebounding battle. And doing a good job of keeping them off the offensive glass, because that was a big thing defensively that hurt us in matchup one. They got some huge offensive rebounds that kept them in it and kept possessions alive. So if we can take care of the ball and we can take care of the rebounding on the glass, those are kind of those hidden possessions that a game like this usually comes down to.
And I think one of the interesting things when you look at the GSAC, of course, last year was Riddle's first year in the Great Southwest Athletic Conference, and you look at the GSAC for men's basketball, you got two teams in there who've been ranked in the top 10, Arizona Christian doing tremendous this year, Hope International. You've got all kinds of tough competition, but, to Embry-Riddle's credit, you guys have stood toe-to-toe with literally some of the best teams in the country, and you're doing it with a team mainly comprised of freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah, they're a young group, and they've battled, and, it's one of those things. We are what our record says, but we've lost 3 games in conference literally at the buzzer. A shot went in with 1 second against us at the Masters. Arizona Christian made a shot with a second left. Benedictine came back and won one basically at the buzzer. So we've been right there. You have to get over the finish line, and but our group, I'm so proud of how much they've matured, being able to just, close games out these last couple of weeks here. And, just have confidence in themselves that they can hang and play with these teams. And for us now, it's continuing to believe and get across the finish line and know that we can beat those teams. Not just, hang with them and have a chance, but really, really get the job done. So, like you said, we're one of the youngest teams in the country. Couldn't be more proud of our group and how they've come along and just the confidence they've gained in themselves. And so hopefully now we've got to that point, like I said, where we can not just believe that we can hang with these teams, but really believe that we can beat them and then get those, those games across the finish line here in the last couple of seconds.
Yeah. And again, you talk about this young, talented group. One of the guys that you probably talk about right off the bat would be Noah Gift, who last year was the GSAC Freshman of the Year. And this year, well, no sophomore slump for Noah. He pretty much picked up where he left off last year with all the great stats he put up in his frosh year.
Yeah, he's just such a special player, and he's really grown as a complete player. He was a shooter, a scorer last year, and he still does that at a really high level. But all his numbers, he's just more efficient. Better from the free throw line, able to get there more, better defensively, and some of those areas. And we rely on him a lot. I think a big thing that's helped him is the growth of a guy like J.C. Candlin, our starting point guard, his ability to grow and take on more of a burden. So there's not quite as much pressure, on Noah. You've got, Peter Dress, J.C. Candlin, Christian Wells has taken a big step. A lot of these guys that played a lot last year, but were maybe a little more inconsistent, have really become more consistent contributors, and that's taken a lot of pressure off Noah, and it's made us a better team. You can't really just key on one guy, and shut us down. So it's been awesome to see those guys' growth, and there's a number of guys beyond just the ones I mentioned that have all just taken a big step in their, in their second year.
Yeah, and I gotta say, probably if you have to vote for most fun player to watch on Embry-Riddle, I think a lot of votes might go the way of J.C. Candlin, who's probably the smallest guy on your team. But I think people look at him and go, I think he's one of those small guys who has like small guy syndrome, where probably a lot of people overlook him. They may not have a lot of confidence in his ability, and J.C.'s like, okay, I'm just going to go out there and play with a chip on my shoulder, and I'm going to show you that I can terrorize anyone on the court out there, no matter how big they are.
No, you're spot on, and you know, we identified that when we were recruiting him, and you know, his dad's a coach, and so he's grown up with the game. He's very high IQ basketball player, but you're spot on. He's got the chip on his shoulder, and you know, that's what we kind of have as a program. You know, I think everyone looks at, you know, kind of an engineering aeronautical school, and you know, how are you guys going to compete? And we've got a team full of those guys, and it's definitely led by JC, and he knows that, and we know that, and you know, to a degree, we go as he goes, you know, as a team, and when he's motivated and locked in and driven to kind of prove people wrong, and you know, show people what he's about and what our team's about. Our guys really rally behind him, you know, and he kind of leads us in that. So you're spot on, though. That's exactly who he is, and he's a talented player. You know, can score it. I think in the last game he had 10 assists, so he can do a variety of things. And he's definitely, you know, our energy and the guy that we lean on to kind of have an edge and an attitude. And he's a blast to watch because he can get 20, 25 points. He can get you 10 assists. And he can make a lot of fun things happen. He's a fun player to watch.
Yeah. Now, and of course, you mentioned JC. You mentioned Noah. Peter Dress is another one who I think has really stepped up his scoring. I mean, he was really good last year. I think he's even better this year on the court. But I think maybe two guys who maybe don't get the name recognition of like Noah and JC and Peter, but I think have done a great job contributing to the success of Riddle this year. One would be Christian Wells, and I think the other would be Isaiah Wong.
Yeah, absolutely. And both those guys are, you know, and I mean this as a good term, but they're glue guys. They're just solid. They do a little bit of everything. There's no ego. There's you know, no agenda to score or try to prove, you know, that they can do more than they're asked. And so, you know, Christian has been a big lift for us from a defensive standpoint and being, you know, and rebounding. That's kind of his, you know, his main two things. He's really grown as a shooter. He's shooting the ball tremendously this year. It's been another huge asset for us. And then Isaiah's just so steady. He comes in, he's a high assist to low turnover player. He gets us organized on the offensive end. He gets everybody involved. And he's a great extension of a coach on the floor. You know, he's the guy you love to have because he just is so calming. I'm high energy to say it nicely, and he's just so steady and calm that he really helps gets the guys, you know, in the right places, keeps the ship steady. You know, when things start to go a little haywire. So those two, you know, are absolutely, you know, guys you have to have on your team. You know, to be able to win and get into the postseason and continue to play because they're just so steady every night, and they do those little things that maybe don't show up in the box score, you know, or in the highlight reels, but they make the winning plays. So those guys are absolutely critical to us having success.
And, of course, I think probably a nice surprise for Embry-Riddle this year. We talked about the freshmen and sophomores you got on your team, but you were able to kind of poke your way through the transfer portal there this year, and you brought in a graduate student, Matur Dahl, the man from South Sudan. I mean, 6'9", 6'10", and this guy's just been a beast for you on the boards, grabbing rebounds and making some really big blocks for you this year.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up. So today's his senior day as well. So, you know, his last home game for sure, and we want to send him out right, and he's our only senior. But, yeah, Matur leads the league. He leads the GSAC in block shots, total blocks per game. He's been great on the glass for us and just provided something unique from a physical standpoint that we haven't had, at least in my 3 years here, of a 6'10", you know, rim protector, legit size. I mean, he was at the Division I level for 2 years. Dropped down to the Division II level for 2 years and graduated. And so we were able to get him. He's a great student. He's working on his graduate degree right now from Riddle. So, and then just a tremendous person. He's hilarious. Maybe the funniest guy on our team, which he's just been a blessing to coach and a bonus of who he is as a person. He fit in so well with our group, which, you know, it's always a little risky when you have a transfer, and we don't have many. So, we were thrilled to get him from a basketball standpoint and just blown away by the person he is and, you know, who he is as a teammate and all those things. So he's another one. When you have him and JC out there together, you've got two different sides of the spectrum, and they feed really well off each other. So he's another fun one to watch. Get up there and block some shots at the top of the square and go up and get a couple highlight dunks. He's a fun guy for fans to come out and see.
Yeah. And then, of course, a couple of guys you got coming off the bench. Both of them are freshmen, but I do believe as the years go on, we're going to see a lot more from them. You got Lex Klontz and Ethan Mackin, who, you get them off the bench, and they've come in this season, and, more often than not, they've made some pretty good contributions for you when you decide to give some of your starters a little break there during the game.
Yeah, you're absolutely, and they've really grown this year. And the hard thing for freshmen, the hardest thing maybe, is understanding like the physicality and the speed, and then just the expectation from a defensive side. What we ask them to do, and the details of it, and scouting, and all those things. And it's really hard for freshmen. And they took some lumps early, just trying to learn and understand what was expected of them from our coaching staff. And as they've grown in that, and they've been so willing to learn and just coachable, and as they've grown in that, I think their roles have expanded, and it's made our team better. Just made us more consistent, especially on the defensive end. To be candid, we were one of the worst defensive teams in the country at the halfway point. You look at the statistics, efficiency, and right now, we're one of the best defensive teams in our conference. And so we've really grown. Like, we've jumped almost 100 spots nationally, in the last 2 months defensively. And those guys growing in that and being able to provide some different things with their athleticism and size has been a big lift. And then they each provide, a unique talent offensively. Ethan's a great passer for a big, and he can finish inside. And then Lex is one of the best shooters in the country. So he was shooting 60% from three, through like 14 conference games. So they provide a big boost offensively, and as they've grown as defenders, they've been a huge lift for our whole team, and you're spot on. They're going to have big roles for us for the next 3 years.
All right. Well, coming up to the end of the show here, I want to thank Coach Ben Tucker from the Embry-Riddle men's basketball team for joining us. Coach, thank you very much, and best of luck in your game today versus Benedictine Mesa. That'll be over at the Riddle Activity Center, 3 p.m. for the tip-off. Before then, at 1 p.m., you have the women's game between Embry-Riddle and Benedictine Mesa. So a great basketball doubleheader out there today. Folks, get on out there. And, Coach, I will see you and all the players out there later on this afternoon.
Yep, we'll see you this afternoon, John. Thanks again for all the support and having us on. And, yeah, anybody that's looking for something to do this afternoon, highly encourage you to come out. It's the last chance to catch both teams this year at home. So please come out. It's great basketball. It's going to be a fun afternoon. All
right. Have a good one, Coach. I'll see you over there today. All righty. Well, folks, again, that's coming up to the end of the show here. But, hey, we got plenty of basketball for you, along with what we got going over at Embry-Riddle this afternoon over on the team, 1450 a.m., KNOT, starting in about 40 minutes or so. We've got college basketball for you, Creighton versus St. John's. Then, definitely want to tune in for this one, 12:45 this afternoon, the U of A taking on Houston. And then we wrap things up over on the team, 1450 a.m. KNOT today with an NBA matchup, Houston versus the Knicks. And, of course, the NBA back from their all-star break. And don't forget, coming up Wednesday and Thursday, we've got playoff basketball for Prescott boys and girls. The boys will have their state tournament game Wednesday, the girls on Thursday. And, of course, it'll be Prescott versus Bradshaw Mountain in that opening round for the girls' state tournament. That will also be on the team, 1450 a.m. KNOT, 7 o'clock both nights. All right, folks, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you again next week. Have